Hey there. So my name's Jeff, and I'm here in Los Angeles on the Santa Monica Beach. And I want to tell you a little bit about what Bucket is, why I started it, and what I'm hoping to do with it. Um, about nearly 10 years ago now, I started a consulting practice called Predicate on the basis of a napkin drawing that I put in front of a very gifted and smart guy who, I take a lot of stock in his opinion. And he said, I think you're onto something. I think you really need to sort of wrap your arms around this, and I think you should go for it. And I did. And content strategy, really was something that became very meaningful. And I rode a wave with that, coming out of user experience design, coming out of an editorial background, and starting to think about content as product. Now, it's nearly a decade on. I'm still working through Predicate primarily. I've never grown the business beyond myself. I never had ambitions to. But what I will say is I've used it to tilt at windmills, to chase assignments that I've found of particular interest in terms of emerging behaviors, consumption behaviors, deepening myself, particularly in the media and entertainment sector, but not exclusively, building content machines in other sectors, and creating resilient systems where people, process, product, and platform could participate and create something, greater than the sum of its parts. Now, obviously, content marketing came along, and content strategy went mainstream, at least in design circles, and that's all been terrific. But I think what happened to me in the last couple of years is I started getting deeper into video in the last 5 years. And through a series of very deep engagements, started to learn about some of the structural challenges in video as a content type, and changing patterns in monetization, authorship, opportunity, and I got very excited. I got very excited because in this big bang of content, the profusion, there's more choice than ever, attention is scarce, etc., etc. There's a renewed emphasis on the value of intellectual property. Now, I'm going to continue to do that work with Predicate. Predicate doesn't go anywhere. However, I've decided to forge a path in client services to productize some work that, in retrospect, I realized I've started to cobble together some set ways of solving for some formal problems in content discovery, in content taxonomy, for lack of a better word, and supporting new modes of ensuring that audience gets connected with IP, to ensure more creatively vital and commercially viable forms of content for rights holders, for creators, producers, people in the ecosystem. Now, what I'm calling Bucket and describing as services and study in the personalized product environment is a few things. One, it's a diary. It's me deepening myself actively in what's happening with emerging technology in terms of personalization, recommendation engines, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and everything that's going to take content as we know it and intellectual property as we know it and start to connect it to opportunity at the level of interest, the taste graph, that sort of thing. So there's a services component, but there's also, frankly, there's a journey component for myself in terms of professional development. Now, I'm a metadata nerd. I'm somebody who's studied deeply and worked with Fortune 50 companies all the way to hardware startups and every point in between you can imagine, solving for how to structure content, give it a richness and a relevance and attributes that will allow it to be highly findable, highly indexable, discoverable, and will create new nodes for how content can be consumed and appear most fruitfully in the greatest number of places. Now, this isn't an argument for ubiquity, and Bucket's not an argument for scarcity either, but I am very interested in that spectrum. So, what I will say is that I'm going to be actively, talking with experts. I love any chance I get to talk with people much smarter than me or working deeply in areas, niche areas that don't get enough light shone on them. So there's that. But I'm hopefully onto something bigger, much like I feel like the napkin that was my way of understanding what content strategy is and was and could be, 9 years ago. I want to be working on the abstraction layer for personalized product opportunity. Now, that's partly to serve feature development. It is partly to go deeper on recommendations and personalization, obviously. But it's also to find and connect the right parties to solutions that are meaningful to them and to their future. Ultimately, I want content to find the right audience. I want it to be monetizable as appropriate. I want it to create more resilient machines. And if we don't add the intelligence to these experiences, if we don't give the richness to the assets, if we don't approach it thoughtfully, we really get the future we deserve. We get more content overload. We get more user fatigue. We get more, it's good enough. And we get less, frankly, less cultural richness, but also less targeting in terms of marketers' goals and so on. That's what I'm up to with Bucket. That's the idea. I'm looking forward to talking a lot more about it. And this is, I'm going to be very, very direct and very candid with you. This is a trip I'm taking, and I don't know exactly how fruitful it's going to be, but it's one windmill I want to tilt at. And I've got a lot of smart people that I've been talking to, and I'm really excited to start to share what I'm hearing, how it's making me think and challenge my ideas of what content can be and how we can take content offerings to a new place and to renewed relevance and make them more, if not future-proofed, future-friendly. And I appreciate your time and obviously your interest. So thanks very much, and let's keep talking.